Hello and welcome to our second winter forecast for the winter of 2022 to 2023. Now be sure to stay to the end of the video to reveal what's underneath these question marks in our exciting overall forecast. Also be sure to like the video, leave a comment down below with your town or at least your region of your state, and I'll be trying to respond to as many of those as possible with a custom forecast, so be sure to do that before watching the video. Let's just get straight into it. We're taking a look here. First things first at our precipitation forecast, and we're going over the below average precipitation to start things out here. We have below average precipitation expected for most of the southern United States in this region that you can see. And this is mostly going to be due to the fact that we're in a La Nina. What that means is there's going to be less of a southern jet. It's going to make less nor'easters, less southern track storms in general, which is going to lead towards these areas just being more dry than what is typical for a typical winter. Does this mean there will be zero storms and zero snow? Absolutely not, but there might just be a little bit less. And in this lightest layer, we're the least confident, so it might not even be the case for everybody. But overall, most of these areas should be below average precipitation. Now, we do have a darker layer of this, actually two darker layers of this. One there for the southwest. We can see for California, Nevada, Arizona, and New Mexico. And then one there for the southeast as well for Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, South Carolina, North Carolina, and even southeastern Virginia there. And that's an area where, again, for first off, the southwest, very, very typical in a La Nina to see below average precipitation. So that's why we're moderately confident in that below average precipitation. For the southeast, there will be less nor'easters rolling through most likely, which will also be something that's very, very typical in a La Nina. So both of those things are pretty clear-cut favorites to happen this upcoming winter, pretty much no matter who you ask. Now, let's get into that above average precipitation, because for most of the northern United States here, you can see that we have above average precipitation expected. You may be wondering, if you've really dove into our first winter forecast, what I've changed here. The below average precipitation, I haven't even really shifted there, but this above average area, the middle there, we have shifted further north, so there's a bit more curvature there for the plains where they were above average precipitation. I've gone ahead and moved that line northward. I think these clippers are going to track a little bit differently than originally anticipated, so I have gone ahead and changed that a little bit. We can see that all the way from the west coast to the east coast in the north, there will be an active storm track moving along something like this. Clippers and Miller B nor'easters. Miller B nor'easters would be this part of things here, where we see things move offshore and become nor'easters. Further up the coast, a Miller A nor'easter would be something that moves through California into the Gulf and up the east coast. We're not really going to see this storm track in a La Nina, like I mentioned. It's going to be more of this northern one that we're going to see taking place. And this is going to be in the form of clippers, like I said, which winters that are heavy in clippers feature a lot more precipitation in these regions. Very, very frequent, more minor to moderate snowstorms that roll through. If you live in this region, you're probably familiar, and it's going to be a lot of them if this does play out the way I think it could. Now, we do have a moderate shade of this as well up there for the northwest, Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Montana, and Wyoming up there, where we're moderately confident in that above average precipitation. The northwest seeing above average precipitation is almost a given in a La Nina, so that's why I'm feeling very, very confident in that occurring that way. Now, I will also mention that we have receded this area further back west. It used to extend well into Montana and Wyoming and maybe even to the Dakotas, but we've gone ahead and receded this back a little bit further west. We're a little bit less confident in the above average precipitation for the middle northern United States. Now, for the northeast as well, the Ohio Valley into the northeast, we also have a pretty moderately above average precipitation area expected in here. For the Ohio Valley up into the interior northeastern United States, again, where this storm track is just going to cause these Miller B nor'easters to move up the coast. This could lead towards a lot of snowfall and a lot of precipitation for the areas north of that track. So keep that in mind as well. Now, let's get straight into the temperature forecast, and probably right off the bat, you're probably pretty excited seeing that this looks a little bit different than things did look before. We're feeling more confident in the cold in the east, and generally, I feel like we will have a positive PDO and positive PNA dominated winter. What that means is cold in the east, warm in the west seems to be the dominant feature. I'll explain that a little bit further, but if you know what our first winter forecast looked like, you know this looks dramatically different, and for cold and snow lovers, dramatically improved for the most part. We had above average temperatures expected for the East Coast in our first video. we're going away with that. There's a little bit of the southeast there for Florida and Georgia, a little bit of Louisiana and Texas where there is near normal conditions expected, but we have receded away that warmth and gone ahead and increased the confidence in cold in the east for the central and the eastern United States overall. This is only our first layer, like I mentioned, the lighter blue, so we're a little less confident in this region, but we do have a moderate blue here, as you can see. And this is the area where we do expect below normal temperatures, a little bit more confident than that lighter blue region. So we can also see that this takes over a lot of the eastern United States where we didn't even have any blue in our last update. It has been about a month since our first video, so it has been quite a while. Usually I would make them more frequently than that in years past. I've kind of slacked on these a little bit this year, but I expect to be increasing the amount of these I'm going to be making, so keep that in mind as well. You guys have been eating up the long-range forecast, and I can't thank you guys enough. We do have a moderate, or better yet, a far below average temperature region here where we expect, this is our highest confidence area. You can see the bar at the top of the screen. We have 3 shades of blue and 3 shades of orange. Once we get into that third layer, that is our furthest confident. So I feel like there's going to be frigid air diving into this region just like this, and polar vortex cannot be ruled out this upcoming winter. With how far negative I think the AO could go just based off of the current conditions, I'm really thinking we're setting up perfectly for a good winter this upcoming winter for cold and snow lovers, a bad winter for warm lovers or people that just in general do not enjoy snow or cold. This really, in years past, we've seen colder summers at times later on, and I feel like the pattern got a little bit too favorable for cold in the east too early. So we saw it happening throughout the summer, a bit of the fall, and then things kind of tapered off by the time it reached the winter. But we have been stuck in an extremely hot summer in the eastern half of the nation for a majority of the summer, and that's leading me to believe that we're going to see things flip at the proper time this year as opposed to years past. So that's kind of my thought process here and what's mostly increasing my confidence in the cold in the east. Now for the west, we expect above average temperatures, and this used to only be for the southwest, but we've gone ahead and extended this up the west coast all the way into Oregon and Washington. I genuinely feel like we're going to be stuck in a positive PNA, positive PDO winter like I mentioned, and I will explain that now. What that means is these areas are going to be stuck in a warm pattern. So these areas are going to be warm here. That's a positive PNA pattern. So when these areas are warm, what this causes is it causes the cold to have to go around that warm air mass and dive eastward because there's so much cold built up in the Arctic regions, it has to go somewhere, and it's going to be this eastern United States region if we get stuck in this positive PNA out here in the west that I mentioned. It's funny how I've always said this, but it makes it so much easier to understand weather. The weather always starts in the west. It works its way from west to east, and everything starts in the west. So whatever's happening out west will dictate what happens in the east, for the most part. And this is a prime example here, this positive PNA pattern. So this would completely dictate how things go in the east. And if it was to occur this way, that would mean cold and snow for many, many folks. Now, we even have a darker orange region here for the southwest, California, Nevada, Arizona, and New Mexico, because this is still the area where I'm the most confident in the above average temperatures. Keep that in mind. California, Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico. Most confident in those regions. Now, for the snowfall chance forecast, what this means, it doesn't mean you will for sure see below average or above average snowfall, but I will say it does, however, mean that you do have a higher chance of seeing above average snowfall or below average snowfall. So for the southwest, south central, and southeastern United States, below normal chance. We still expect drier conditions for the southeast. That's why you guys are in a slightly below normal chance of snowfall. I still think nor'easters could form given the update to my temperature forecast. And honestly, I could have updated this and receded that back down a little bit further south on the eastern end and maybe a little bit further north there on the western end. Maybe that'll be for our next winter forecast where I'll really give this one a good update. We do, however, expect far above average snowfall for a lot of the Ohio Valley, Upper Midwest, Great Lakes, and northeastern United States where those Miller B nor'easters will be able to form. And also for a bit of the northwest where that above average precipitation is going to be taking place. For the mountains, there will be plenty of cool air, whether there's a positive or negative PNA. The mountains will still see their snowfall with the precipitation, and I do expect quite a bit of precipitation. So there will likely be above average snowfall for a lot of those regions there. Now, Last but not least, here is that exciting overall forecast. Now, for the northwestern United States, we expect stormy conditions. Used to be cool and stormy. We do not expect cool anymore. So now we just expect stormy compared to normal there for that kind of turquoise or lighter green region. We see warm and dry for that yellow region to the south for a lot of the western United States into the Four Corner states. We can see for the very southwest, things look even hotter. It looks like it's on fire there in that color. But warmer than normal is definitely expected for those regions. We see our typical snowfall there for the Rockies is genuinely expected for a lot of those mountainous regions where above average precipitations will prevail for most areas up there. We see cold and snowy to the east of the Rockies there for areas like Wyoming, Colorado, Nebraska, Kansas. These areas are areas that see snow pretty frequently and pretty early on usually, and we do expect that to occur this year as well. We expect somewhat dry conditions there for the southeast and a little bit of the south central United States, where again that southern jet is not going to be coming through, so we expect somewhat dry compared to normal. Not completely dry, there will be a lot of storminess, but just not quite as much as we're typically used to down there. Winter battle zone in the pink, and what that means is it's never going to be a pure snow winter, and it's never going to be a pure rain winter. Well, I mean, maybe sometimes, but we do expect quite a bit of snow, rain, ice, sleet, all of it. It's going to be a battle between the air masses here a lot of times in storms where it's going to be a mixed event because that cold and warm is right over you guys. It'll be 33, 34, 35 degrees and definitely all sorts of precipitation. So it's going to be a battle between those air masses during those snowstorms. As we move a little bit further north, we can see Arctic blasts for that very, very deep blue region. That's where we expect things to be colder than we originally anticipated. Definitely Arctic blasts are going to be a frequent occurrence there. And then polar vortex possibly up there for that purple region for a lot of the north central United States. It's been a while since we've seen the polar vortex come through, but I think this could be one of those years, especially if we see that dominant positive PNA combined with a negative AO. That could be a recipe for that polar vortex to make an appearance or two this upcoming winter. Worst of winter for the Great Lakes. I really expect there to be a big Great Lakes winter. Lake effect snow is going to be pretty frequent early on. And then after that, above average precipitation anyway. So it's going to be a snowy winter, I think, for you guys there in the lighter blue, without a doubt. Tons of snow for the Appalachian region of the United States there. Tennessee, North Carolina, all the way up through into New England in the Appalachian Mountains. Really just going to be tons of snow either way, but that storm track will be pretty frequent and things are expected to be a little bit colder than we originally anticipated. So definitely tons of snow taking place there. And then huge snowstorms cannot be ruled out for the eastern seaboard there, as nor'easters might not be as frequent as typical, but sometimes these La Niñas give us our biggest East Coast snowstorms. We had pretty big ones back to back last year for some of the southeast. I live in Virginia, so I remember that there was quite a back-to-back weekends. I think we had pretty big snowstorms. And then there's years like 2010 where we were in a La Nina for December of 2010, where we had that Boxing Day snowstorm, which was one of the most massive East Coast nor'easter snowstorms ever. And that was also in a La Nina. So you don't have to have an El Nino to have huge East Coast nor'easter blizzards. It can happen either way. And honestly, sometimes in La Ninas, we see the biggest, most potent ones. There's a little bit less of them, but sometimes we see the bigger ones in La Ninas. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. That's it for this one. I'll be updating this anytime between the next 2 weeks to the next month. Be on the lookout for this. I also wanted to mention to you guys that we are going to be making our when do you expect your first snowfall video, I think tomorrow, so stay tuned for that for sure. But not only that, our official snowfall forecast for the year of 2022 in through 2023. So be on the lookout for that video coming up soon also. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.